Sunday on the Breakfast Club, and I am still not Peach. Sorry. Well, anyway, saw some good videos this past week, particularly from Kazoom and from Paul. Got that funk. Um, Kazoom's videos more fresh in my mind, so I want to touch on a couple points that he made that I thought were good, but some cautionary items in what he said. Um, like Kazoom, I've been pretty despondent the last few weeks, and trying to figure out, where do we go from here. Obviously, I'm not happy with Trump's election, and but more than that, I'm really kind of despondent about how we're all reacting and how we're taking it and what people seem to think they want to do and how they want to approach it. The last few weeks, really, my videos have not been centered on blaming people, but really kind of, well, where do we go next? What do we do? And kind of pointing out that there's a lot of stuff that can be done, and a lot of things maybe we should have done up to this point, but we didn't, or didn't do enough. But telling people, hey, look, there's elections coming up right away, and something I neglected really is that even beyond even the 2017 elections in New Jersey and Virginia, Trump's going to be putting forward appointments, and there's going to be Senate confirmation hearings on that, and that's something that we can weigh in on, whether we agree on those or not. We can let our Congress people know that, senators really who will vote on it, and whenever bills he puts forward, or ideas, whatever his take on things is, we can get involved. And if he puts forward something that's good, yes, by all means, we should be for it. We shouldn't be against something just because he put it up. But the thing is that, some of those things may come at a cost. In order to get what we want, we may have to give something up. And as I said in the other videos, compromise is okay as long as we feel we're getting an equitable return. I don't expect people to roll over, and we certainly should not roll over. But, even just putting forward the idea of, getting involved and registering if you haven't, and making sure you're registered if you think you are, and finding out what the elections are, and just even within the left, forget trying to work with Trump and the Republicans. There seems to be even resistance to that. Everyone just wants to, get in their little camps and say why their camp is right and the other camps are wrong. Kazoom made a good point. One of the things that has been a problem for us on the left is we've let identity politics become too big of an issue. And he made a good analogy about, I'm an attack helicopter, and so it doesn't matter if I don't have the characteristics of an attack helicopter, but if I call myself that, fine. But if I don't, if I don't have anything to back that up, then my identification is meaningless. And it's certainly true for among liberals. People can call themselves a liberal, they can call themselves a feminist or an ally of whatever group, but if they don't actually bring the goods, then that identification has value only to that person and really nobody else. But we have to be careful too, because there should be room on the left for real disagreements and different views and different approaches. Like I said, two people can agree in principle on something and have two very different ways of executing it. It's the idea versus the execution. When you get into the details, some people have different ways to do that, and that's okay. And it's important to debate those and discuss them, and those can be heated. But there seems to be a resistance to even do that. So if we are not going to participate, if we just want to sit back and wallow in the loss and sit in the past and say how our guy would have been done better, or how our guy that got cheated or whatever. And I'm not just talking about Bernie, I'm also talking about Hillary, because obviously people who are strong supporters of Hillary are feeling bad about things too. if we can't get together on the left, we're doomed. It doesn't mean we all have to agree on everything all the time. In fact, like I said, it's healthy that we don't. But I've always been a very optimistic person. Sometimes people think that I'm not seeing all the potential bad things, and I am. I absolutely can see obstacles, and it's part of my job. I have to do that. Problem solving is part and parcel of being an engineer. But I don't let those things get in my way. You try to find a way around them to mitigate them as best you can, and when you find those things where you can't, and then you find a way how to accommodate, how to deal with it. But if we can't, I wish I could remember the quote, but from Martin Luther King, but basically had to do with, if we can't be, it's a shame we haven't found a way to disagree without being violently disagreeable. And if we can't come together on our side, we're doomed, because they do. Ultimately, Republican turnout was down a little, but enough of them found out, the ones that came out that don't normally vote replaced the ones that just couldn't bring themselves to vote. And, they won. They didn't get the most votes, but they won where they needed to. And that's the way our system works. So we can bemoan the Electoral College, but that's what we have right now. And in another video, I'll explain why I don't think we should get rid of it as much as it would have changed this result, and as much as it would help us, or from my perspective, would help us if we didn't have it. But when it comes to third-party candidates, actually, it's really the only way that they're ever going to have any chance, and I'll talk about that some other time. So, yeah, let's figure out what liberal is all about, and but I don't know. I think that we're just going to have more recriminations and more whining fests and more complaints and more excuses, and really there's no excuse at this point. We have a goal. I would think we have a target. We know all the information is out there, and if we refuse to seize that moment to, one, mitigate the damage, to try to reverse things when the time comes that we can do so, and then it's all over, because we'll continue to lose. And and the thing that bothers me the most about it is, I'm 48, and I got a business. I'm not rich, but we're doing pretty well. I'm not hurting. To be honest with you, I'll probably make out better with Trump, because he'll cut my taxes, both my personal and my business taxes. Republicans will absolutely pass it, because that's what they always want. So yeah, I'm black, but I live in New Jersey and I'm older, so the stake for me isn't that great, really. I worry more for the country and for everyone else who's at greater risk than I am, but they don't seem to care, or they seem to care only about their own little interests, and not banding together. So and especially young people, that really kills me. I know apathy on young people tends to be high, but I see cynicism. That's something that's fairly new, and it's gonna piss people off, but I don't care. What the fuck do you have to be cynical about? How can you be cynical about a system that you've barely participated in, if at all? You just got here. You're supposed to be the idealist. I mentioned apathy in my last video, and I had people complaining that, well, we're not apathetic, we're cynical, as if that's better. Well, it's not. I mean, apathy, some people just don't care, and that's fine. I guess you don't have to care. I mean, no one's obligated to care about anything else besides themselves. They don't have to. They don't even have to care about their own position. They can just, roll with it. That's fine. I think it's short-sighted, but you can have that position. But cynical is worse because you've basically given up. You've basically come to this conclusion that, well, nothing can be changed. It's beyond hope, and so why try? And that is worse than apathy, in my view. You're basically throwing away. You're aware of what's there, and you're just saying you're just gonna leave it to others because you've convinced yourself that the system is too rigged and all this other stuff, and it's not. Our lack of participation or our poor participation is what gives us the results we have. And people think that their obligation, if they feel they have an obligation at all, ends at voting, and it doesn't. It just starts there. There's so much more that you need to do if you want results, if you want change. Now, you don't have to. You don't have to participate in anything. But if you want something, well, then you have to fucking work for it. But no one wants to do that. Everyone would rather just sit back and wait for the other guy to do it. So, as long as we do that, we are fucking doomed. And I shouldn't care. I really shouldn't give a shit anymore because, again, I'm not the one at the greatest risk. I'm not the one with the greatest stake. But I do because I want people to I want life to improve, and I want to have a fairer and more just country and world, and to whatever end that I can participate and help in that, I'm happy to do it. But everyone needs to put their ego aside a little bit and try to help in some meaningful way, and that's not posting fucking Facebook posts. And the other thing, Kazum mentioned, the liberal sources versus right-wing sources. That's another big problem, is that, and I totally agree with what he said there. But even there, we have to be careful. Don't just accept a liberal site because it's liberal. Make sure it's accurate. And certainly don't accept a conservative site until you check it out and make sure that it's accurate. Even if it has a good track record, it doesn't mean that the article they're posting is necessarily true. But people just want to glom on to the ones that fit their personal narrative, whatever they believe. Confirmation bias reigns supreme. That's why I said a few weeks ago that I don't think there's any skepticism anymore, if there ever was. So, assuming I make it till next week and the Peach isn't back, I'll come back here and shout at you again about some other thing that I'm sure people will complain about. But at this point, I don't know what the hell else to do. Take care.